I have a question for you.
Hello.
Hey, I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
I know you do. All right. So with that LLC thing,
Mhm.
when Donna jumped in, she was like, if you're paying yourself through the LLC, you have to have a broker's license. Is that what she was referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So in order to do like in order for us to pay you to your LLC, you have to have your broker's license.
All right. But if I'm to open one just for like to run my business out of and take my business expenses out of, then I can just do that on my own then, right?
I don't believe so. I think you have to have your broker's license to do
So no
that.
matter what to open an LLC, you have to have a broker's license?
Yeah. Bill, right? You're on mute.
Yo,
Your LLC, you have to have your broker's license. You can't, it's either yay or nay. That's it.
correct.
Right? Yeah.
If you're getting paid through it.
Right. But you wouldn't set it up not to get paid through it unless it was an investment property or something.
Yeah. Justin, are you referring to like so I got my broker's license years ago, and when I purchase properties, I don't put them in an LLC. I put them in a family trust.
You should put them in an LLC, but anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I know that. The problem is most people forget to re-up their LLCs, and if they forget to refile at the end of 12 months and the shit hits the fan, you wasted $500 and the filing. That I'll tell you is an opinion on how you should hold them, depending. An attorney will tell you to do a family trust and then do an LLC, and then get an umbrella policy insurance. That way you got multiple avenues of protection. I don't hold my properties in an LLC. We just have the family trust, and then we have a $2 million umbrella insurance policy in case somebody wants to sue me. But in order to get paid, like if you decided to start a team and you wanted to, turn into an S corp to get paid through the S corp, you would have to get your broker's license.
So before I begin buying investment properties, I'm gonna have to get my broker's license if I'm gonna put them through in an LLC anyways, then, right?
No. So if you,
confusing.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I know. So if you're doing it for your business to save on taxes
Yeah.
and for us to write, O'Connor LLC a check, you have to have your broker's license.
Okay.
If you're just doing investment properties, buying, flipping, holding, whatever,
Yeah.
you can set up individual LLCs like they were
Each
talking
one.
about today. Yeah, you don't have to have your broker's license for that. Anyone can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So even if I were to like set up a separate, because they were talking, if I were to set up a separate account just to run my business expenses through, just so it's easier for tax purposes, like in the end, right? So like my gas or my marketing or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
what I mean? But I don't do that. I can just do that separately, then not through an LLC.
Yeah, you can do that like through RE Profit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You could do it through QuickBooks or whatever, avenue you want to do if it keeps you more organized.
Okay. So basically, if I'm going to invest, I put it into an LLC. But other than that, just let it go.
Or get your broker's license. Yeah.
I'm good right now.
Justin, the benefit now is because of COVID, you can do your broker's license right online.
I know.
It's one of those things that you used to have to go sit in the classroom for like 2 months. And that's what I did. I'm so old, that I had to sit there for, 2 months to get my broker's license. They've made it so much easier now where I think you could even, I don't know if you can do testing online. I think you still got to go into the centers, but I think everybody should have their broker's license. I have no intentions on ever using mine for opening up a real estate company. However, you're out in an appointment, you can simply tell people, oh, hey, I had Joe in here. You're like, oh yeah, I have my broker's license. Only 1% of realtors have that, and explain what that means. Like I'm looking, Benny just got on. I know Ben's a broker. There's only a few of us over in Norwell. I think we got about 4 or 5 people down there that have their broker's license. That just means he's old. He did his a long time ago. So,
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. That clears it up a little bit.
Absolutely. Good afternoon or good late morning.
good
Morning.
something.
Morning.
This is going to be fantastic, right, Bill?
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. I'm so old fashioned. I get notes. You know what I mean? It's
I got notes too. It's all good.
yeah. It's funny. It's definitely a good thing. Can you hear me okay? Is there a really bad echo?
I'm fine.
Okay. I decided to stand, so I'm kind of putting baby in the corner here so I can stand up.
There you go. One minute in, we're on realtor time. I should start the class at 10:50. Right? Then we'll get everyone on by 11.
We would have only had like 4 or 5 of us.
Right? No, then they'd show up at 11 and then we'd be good.
I have so much stuff in front of me, it's almost overwhelming.
Right? Hey, Colleen.
Hi guys, good morning.
How
I
are
can't tell-
you?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, good. My son
Colleen.
is, hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good, good. My son is next to me in school, so I just wanted to tell you guys that we're kind of, I might have to probably keep it on mute, but
Yeah, no
I
problem.
just wanted to say hello and
Yeah.
good morning.
Morning.
You look amazing and I don't look like that because I'm in the middle of remote school with my children.
It's all good.
So,
It's all good. I'm glad you jumped on.
yes, me too. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course. All right, it's 11:01. So let's get started. Good morning, everyone.
Morning,
Morning.
Kristen.
Hey,
Morning.
how are you doing? Awesome.
Great.
Yeah. So today, Billy and I are going to talk about retirement. Okay. It's going to be a little scary. We're going to be honest. We're going to, talk about, what it means to us and you, and feel free to jump in. How do you determine how much money you're going to need for retirement? What your mindset is around retirement. We're going to talk about different streams of income, so you have that for retirement. I have some attachments that I'm going to add to this as well as we go through, so you can, download those forms for yourself to kind of keep you on track. So awesome. So Bill, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Bucher. Hey guys, it's funny. This whole thing and part of the book series started from Kristen and I were having some conversation. She originally reached out about the MREI book club, and we started having a conversation. She's like, "I'm going to run with this," and I'm like, "You should. It's an amazing topic. We're in real estate." And then about 2 weeks ago, Kristen called me in a panic, which sometimes she does. For all that know, Kristen, much love. And we just started talking about, after you start reading the MREI and you start figuring out, numbers and talking about retirement, the struggle's real. So we stayed on the phone for about 45 minutes to an hour. And, I was having one of my Rain Man moments where I started just spewing numbers and, for better, for worse, that was kind of, spawn this conversation this morning. So I'm glad we're having it. It's a conversation that a lot of people don't want to have. And I can tell you that avoiding it is not going to make it go away. So just like a profit and loss, if you just do it, you're going to be in a better position. You're going to know your numbers and your finances. So Kristen, I want to thank you for organizing this. We are not experts. We are just people with information, and we want to relay the information, and hopefully you get something out of it today.
Right. Yes. We don't do this for a living. We don't know much. This is just our opinions on retirement. Right, Bill?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bill and I have been talking a lot about this and, screenshotting things and sending to each other, like the compound interest calculator, which I'm going to upload. That's a scary thing. It's so scary that Bill wouldn't even do it. He's like, I'm not touching that one. So that's why it's very important that we have this conversation today. So, the first question is, what does retirement mean to you? A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm going to retire and not work and sit around all day. It doesn't have to be that. For me, it's freedom. I can do what I want when I want, and I can work because I want to, not because I have to. So what do you guys think about, what does it mean to you, retirement?
It means exactly the same to me as it does to you. It's exactly it. Just financial freedom and having options.
Yep. Anybody else?
I just want to be able to help my own children as they become adults, with their finances and teaching them at an earlier age, because my parents didn't teach me, and they're still struggling while they're retired. So every generation wants to do it better. So I want to do better, like for my children, and be able to help them, get established as adults as they, grow into adulthood. So that's, something that is really important to me.
Awesome.
For me, it'd be not worrying about paying a bill.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I choose to work, I work. If I don't, I don't.
Right. Yep. Awesome.
Love it. Love it.
Anybody else?
I think I echo everybody else's sentiments. Just financial freedom. Just instead of living check to check, being able to do what I want when I want, and have a passive income to do it.
Right. And we all don't know how long we're going to live, right? So we don't really know exactly, are we going to outlive our retirement money or not? And what does that look like? So it's a scary, situation there with that. What do you, when would you like to retire? Like, do you guys have a age in mind? Bill's laughing because he knows how much money I need.
Age is a number. Chris and I have been talking about this. I'm 47 and a half. I would like to be done with real estate by 55, the latest, meaning selling actually out there, listing properties, working with buyers. That doesn't mean full retirement for me at that age. That would mean going off, and we're going to talk about additional streams of, passive income, whether it's through, other things. We're going to talk about that. I personally would like to be done in the selling and buying game in five years max.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so with that said, in order to figure those numbers out too, and we're going to talk about that later on. Bill's going to do some math for you because we all love when Bill does math. But if you go to daveramsey.com, write this down, guys, daveramsey.com, he's like the financial guru. If you go under resources, there's so much in there, like so many different kind of calculators to figure out like how much money. There's a retirement calculator based on how much money you already have for savings, what you make a year now. And it will actually calculate how much money that you need in order to retire based on the life that you want to live. Now, I just redid mine because Bill laughs at me all the time, and it came down $1 million from when I did it last time. But it's very eye-opening when you do it. I did it with a very extravagant lifestyle, and I need $6 million, which means I need to invest. It was 7 the other day. I need to invest $25,100 every month for the next 10 years if I want to retire in 10 years. Okay.
So
put that in perspective.
Sugar daddy instead.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, at least doing that will give you some type of, frame of mind. The other thing that I recommend, and I know Bill and I have talked about this, is assets and liabilities. And I talked about this at our last class. Do a spreadsheet, and I'm actually going to give you a spreadsheet too for that. But write down all your assets and all your liabilities and actually see how much you have in assets now and how much you have in liabilities. It's either going to be pleasantly surprising to you or it's going to be shocking and not in a good way, right? So you can't really start moving forward until you know your numbers, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, guys, like by not knowing your number, like, a lot of people avoid this conversation simply because they're afraid of it. And I can tell you, that's not going to help you retire any sooner. Like, it's not. We're adults here, whether you're 25 or 55. None of us deserve working until the last day that we take our breath, which a lot of people do. A lot of people in my age bracket here, their parents may or may not have worked until the very end because they didn't have any money put aside. They didn't plan. The generation before us didn't talk about money as openly, as freely as people on this Zoom here, because we have the benefit of working with a great company that raises financial thermostat and barometer for us. So it's our opportunity now to, kind of hit it straight on so that we can live the exact life that we want to, like Kristen talked about, doing what you want when you want and having the financial capabilities of doing that.
Right. Yeah. And it starts with your mindset about it too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to have a positive mindset, and you really have to, even have goals about it too, because if you don't know where you need to go. Right.
Yeah, so it's a roadmap, Kristen. You know, it's you know, I'll openly share that this year I decided to not fully invest in my real estate goals, but I invested in my financial growth goals. You know, meaning time. I came up with a financial growth plan that says, okay, this is what I have to do. And in order to get those, I'm going to have to sell real estate. But if I focus just on the money end, on investing and growing my entire portfolio, it's going to take me in the right direction.
Right, exactly. So yeah, let's give them some examples. Let's talk about your dad.
Yeah. Well, you know, a couple of things that I just want to talk about here. You know, one of the first things, you know, when you're kind of taking a step back and looking, one of the first questions you guys have to ask yourself is, what kind of lifestyle do you want in retirement? Because everybody's different. Kristen said, you know, she joked and said her lifestyle was $7.5 million. I talked her down $1 million.
I'm not joking.
I know it.
Okay.
I'm good in sales. If I already talked you down $1 million, Kristen.
Right.
So people need to determine, you know, what kind of lifestyle do you want in retirement? Okay, so it's going to be different for every single person on here. And then the next thing you have to do for that is create, you know, like a mock budget retirement plan. You know, so you know that's gonna be your budget for then. I know you can't figure out what inflation is going to be in 10, 15, 20 years, but you can kind of have an idea. And then we'll talk about further steps. So Kristen, you want me to mention my dad?
Well, yeah, I guess, you know, before I should have said that, I should have said, you know, do you want your kids to take care of you?
No.
You know, I think that's kind of one of the driving forces too, is do you want your kids to have to take care of you? And on the flip side, can you afford to take care of your parents? Like right now, if you had to take care of your parents, can you afford it? It's not cheap. And Bill knows this very well because he's kind of on both spectrums with his parents. And we wanted to, you know, he's openly going to share that with us, which is fantastic, just to kind of give you guys a mindset is this is like true, like real life stuff, you know? So let's talk about your dad first.
Yeah, so my parents were divorced. My dad was a blue collar worker, worked at US Gypsum making sheetrock. He started at the company at 18 and a half years old, and he had to be 39 and a half years of service added on to your age when you retire. So he could retire at 57 and a half. One of the old timers in the plant when he started grabbed him and said, hey kids, sign up for the pension and sign up for start investing in a 401k. He didn't even know what that meant, a retirement plan. But one of the old timers told him to do it, so he did it. With that being said, as he got closer, that's a grind. It's a factory job your whole life doing shift work. He said he's retiring at 57 and a half. He retired at 57 and a half. Pros and cons. He grossly underestimated how much money he needed to live on because he had a financial planner, but he didn't have other streams of income coming in. He retired at the time, I think it was about 15, 16 years ago with about $1.3 million. And he was hoping, you know, he took it and put his money into more conservative accounts instead of, you know, getting 7, 8, 9, 10%, which could fall out. He put it in a lower, maybe 2%. Fast forward now, he's down to 1/3 of his money and he's 70 years old. So he's 71 years old. So he has spent 2/3 of his entire retirement in a short period of time, budgeting what he thought was the right thing to do, but he miscalculated his money and regrets actually tapping out and not doing some type of, you know, call it a retirement job, you know, maybe working at Home Depot or delivering auto parts or something fun, consulting.
Yep. Like I said earlier, you don't know how long we're gonna be here for.
You know, it's funny, Kristen, because one of the things was if you plan for retirement and you say, hey, I'm going to plan for 30 years, like what happens if you live 31? You know, I mean, seriously, what happens if you live 31 years? But on the flip side, what happens if you live 18? Are you living like Charlie Sheen in Vegas? You know, you can kind of tip up a little bit and have some fun. You don't know. None of us know what's going to happen. So you almost have to prepare for the worst. You know, hey, I'm gonna live, you know, I'm gonna live for 40 more years. And if you're prepared for that, you're able to live any lifestyle you want in retirement.
Yep. Yep.
You know, Kristen, a great saying is, money's something that you got to have in case you don't die.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I love that Ben Kinney says it, and it's real. But you need to have a plan with it. You need to have a goal for it.
Yep. Yep. And I did a little cartoon, which I'll share with you guys. But you know, it says, based on my calculations, I can retire 5 years after I die.
Yep.
Like, kind of scary, right? Right. So let's talk about your mom's situation. So his mom's passed.
Yeah. So maybe it's like the marriage version, like Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, my mother remarried and married a guy, a great guy who was a contractor. If he made $100,000 a year, he would spend 125. They had great boats. They were members of the yacht clubs. They had place in Florida. They had a great Mustang convertible. And when he passed away, he had left my mother with a $50,000 life insurance policy, and she wasn't working. And that money wasn't going to go too far. It turned into a bankruptcy situation that they were in right before he passed, which got really ugly. And right after my stepfather died, my mother had got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and they had said, hey, you have a year to live. Well, she went on to live 6 more years and had no money. So, a couple people on here know my story. I absorbed that living cost for 5+ years for her, because like you said, do you want your kids taking care of you, or do you want to have to take care of your parents? I was lucky enough where my real estate business was good enough where I could do it, and I'm grateful I had that opportunity. But if I didn't, I'm not sure what would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure at all.
And
she was grateful.
What's that?
I said she was grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never not do that again. But she was very grateful for it.
Mm-hmm. And that was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. It was if I had invested that same amount of money into a 401k or SEP program, over that same time frame, based on where we've been in the economy, it would probably be somewhere $350,000 right now, maybe greater, towards my retirement.
Wow.
The numbers are real.
Yep. So let's talk about, different types of assets, different ways to maybe start saving money or investing money to get started with this. We talked about, different things in your house that would be assets, right? So like selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, like all the junk in your house, whatever you have, it's some type of an asset, right? Because it's worth something to somebody. Right. So, sell something, take that $5, $10, $20, whatever it is, start investing that money.
Yeah, right? People say, hey, I don't have enough to invest. Mm-hmm. If you just evaluate your current financial situation, be real with yourself. I mean, if you grab your bank statements for during COVID or pre-COVID, your bank statements, your credit card statements, and start going through, do you really need Starbucks or, the $8 salad or the $7 protein smoothie, the 3 gym memberships, Netflix, YouTube TV, Xfinity, Hulu? Do you really need all those? If you started cutting, I guarantee you could cut $300 a month from your expenses. And most people say they can't. And you know what, I challenge you to do it and see, because most people come back and say, I was able to save $150 a month. And what if you just took that same month, that money, don't say you don't have it because you've already been spending it, and just invest that today. And mm-hmm. instead of investing it in overpriced coffee or donuts, and invest it in your financial future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So people have to get, they have to get real with their finances, and then get serious about lifestyle changes. Mm-hmm. Kristen and I started talking yesterday just about how much crap we have in our houses. And I said to her, imagine if we went through our house on a monthly basis and just put everything in a pile that you're going to sell on Marketplace, $10 items, $20 items, stuff that you don't use or stuff that doesn't serve a purpose in your life anymore. And you sold it on Facebook Marketplace as an example, and at the end of a month, you made $150. Imagine if you took that $150, called your financial advisor and put it into stocks, bonds, 401k, that same junk that you're going to throw out, do you think it's serving $150 purpose in your life today or 5 years from now? And then the compound effect, if you did that every month for the next 12 months and say it was only $1,200, you know, 1,200 at 7 or 8% return on compound interest over time, that money's going to expand way more than the junk in your garage. And we started joking about that. Kristen has more shoes than any woman I know.
Yeah, I'm not selling the shoes, no. But you know, also you get to clean out your house, which, you know, we all really probably need to declutter. And honestly, it's just taking up space if you're not using it. So why not get rid of it? Instead of throwing it away, sell it. People will buy anything.
Yeah, if it doesn't serve a purpose. I mean, you guys have seen all the junk people put out there on marketplace. You know, I know how much junk I have in my garage, in my basement, in my attic, and start selling it. And when you start seeing an account grow, it doesn't look like it's growing fast until it already has. You know, it's slow, and then all of a sudden it's not anymore. And when you realize that, a big regret is I should have started sooner. What do they say? What's the best time to plant a tree, right? If you couldn't do it yesterday, what's the best time to do it? It's today.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just, an idea of, how to, one, save some money with not going to Starbucks and getting lunches out and all that. And this pains Bill and I both because we probably spend more money on takeout food and out to dinner than probably anybody does. So it's a big adjustment for us. But, today, we were talking about this. I'm like, I'm not going to Starbucks. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts because it was cheaper. Now, should I have just brought my water in and just had that? Sure. Yes, I know. I'm working on it. But, the more that you understand, where you are financially and where your assets and liabilities are, then you can really say, do I really need to buy this? Can I buy it? Should I buy it? Is it worth it? Is it adding value? Can I use that, money somewhere else? And I think, doing that assets liabilities thing is a big chunk of, really a good picture of what you have. Dave Ramsey teaches a financial peace class that Danielle Vanneau teaches. It's online. We did it in person, but watched it online. But they have it online, and it's great because they talk about budgeting, how much money you make, how much, you need to live on and what you have left over. And so if that's something that, maybe you have credit card debt or you need to be more purposeful about that stuff, that may be a good option for you to get into looking at that stuff. I'm sure Danielle will probably teach it again. And I'm sure she'd happily answer any questions that you have. But Dave Ramsey is big on, getting out of debt if that's the situation that you're in right now. But
yeah, I mean, Kristen, you gotta get out of debt first, and then start pouring that money that you're paying on credit card interest or all the things that we mentioned that aren't serving a purpose in your life. If you start taking that same money and start putting it into investing it in anything, stock market, 401k, a pension, whatever, it's going to grow over time. But if you wait 5 years to do that, you just lost all that compound interest of 5 years, which could get you close to retirement in again, half that time.
Yep. Yeah. Cut up the credit cards, save one in a lockbox with a code on it that you don't know that you have to ask somebody for it in case of an emergency. But that credit card, that interest is a killer. That's a killer. So yeah, get out of debt if that's the situation you're in first. And if it has to be starting to sell things in order to get out of the debt, do that. And then that way you can start, saving for your retirement.
Hey,
what are
Bill,
some, yeah.
Oh, Bill, Kristen,
yeah.
I just want to say, I don't know if you talked about this already. If you had, I apologize. I got people coming in and out of my office here, but I know one of my challenges early on, especially as real estate agents, you get these checks for $10,000 and all of a sudden you're like, I'm rich. I can do what I want. People don't, set the taxes aside or set a certain percentage by. And I know with partnering with Kate that we've done a good job on, or at least I should say she has, of really, we get money in and it's allocated, and just get in the habit of doing that because, I see in this business, a lot of people driving big fancy cars. That doesn't mean that they have a lot of money. to be honest.
Yep.
And I know early on in my career, I have regrets of not being better at that. But I just think it does start with that. Once you get that check in this business of saying, all right, 30% goes to taxes, 10% is going to retirement, and just being disciplined about doing that. I mean, is that what you guys do?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, you have to. You
Yeah, I
have
was
to.
gonna say, Ben, there's some great, and anybody can do whatever strategy they want. You know, I can tell you, my wife does like 50% of our check towards bills and everything else, 20 or 25% towards taxes, like 10% towards like the savings account, and then the rest goes into like a 401k or retirement. But if you don't do it right off the bat, you're not going to do it. Ben Kinney talks about, you know, where not everybody can do a 50-50. Well, you know what, start doing like an 80-10-10. 80% goes towards your bills, and lower your bills. If you can't put away more money, like get rid of stuff that you have. Like Ben said, cars are the worst investment you can buy. And I'm not a car guy, and if you're a car person, no disrespect. It's just they lose 30% of value the day you drive them off the lot, as opposed to making money off it. So it's a depreciating item that doesn't really bring you a lot of joy. So you could start with like an 80-10-10, where 80% goes towards your bills, 10% goes towards investing, and the other 10% goes towards savings. But it's starting somewhere, Ben. And you and I come from similar backgrounds where the 06 through 2010, weren't good years for us. And, if we had more then, maybe we wouldn't be in, 2000, those years wouldn't have been so bad, but they were. But you got to invest.
Yeah. If I could just make a comment about that. I know you said to use different strategies, Bill, and saving for your retirement. God, I've been doing that for a long time. But what I've learned from reading, Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and all these other financial gurus out there, is I had to open up separate accounts, literally, so that when I get my checks, 30% or whatever it is goes right towards the tax account. 30% goes to, towards savings, 10% towards, whatever, just different accounts. So I have, 7 different accounts. I just opened up another one because of the MREI, class that you and Kristen started, because I realized that I want to separate those funds for future investment in real estate. And I want to be able to track that too. So that's another strategy that I use, is just to have different accounts. Some people can't do it because they're like, oh, it's too many different things for them to track. But for me, it just makes sense. It also has worked for me because when I have made real estate investments in the past, if one lender or one bank doesn't offer the product that I need at the time, I have a relationship, with 3 others that I can go to and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I've got X amount of dollars in your bank. Can you guys help me out? So that's just another strategy I want to share.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Profit First, read that book. They talk about having 5 bank accounts, and you know what? Take that retirement account and the retirement account and the tax account, and put them in a different bank that you don't have access to, that you don't have a debit card to, that you literally have to drive over there, 10 miles out of the way to get money out of there. Don't make it easy for yourself, or, have an accountability partner with that, have it with somewhere where you can't even get access to it. You deposit it in through somebody else and they hold on to it for you. Whatever you got to do, you got to do,
Yeah, I mean, what Bernice said, I mean, it's spot on, because most of us, unfortunately, as adults, we don't have great willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best way to do it, is allocating however you choose to do it in separate accounts. Because the other thing, Bernice, is you can watch them grow, and it's real. If you just put it in one account and you're like, oh, great, I have X amount of money in my account, it's not as sexy, because that's your bills, that's your business, that's your savings, it's your retirement, all the ones. So you can't really break it down. But when you have a vacation account and you're like, I have $8,000 in my vacation. Well, guess what? I can go to Barbados, or I have $10,000 in my retirement, or $10,000 in my savings. Like having it separated is a huge, huge step. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And also too, take that money and put in an IRA. That way you can't touch it.
Can I make 3 comments?
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. So here's the way I look at it. your expenses should start shifting where more of it's paid by your passive income right now. And so you want to, right now, most of us are having our income is what we work for to pay for our expenses. So you're going to start entering that passive income into that equation. And that's the first thing. And that's the way you really got to look at it all the way through. It's not about how much you can save, because here's the thing, and this goes back to what Dara started to say. If you save a lot of money and you start chipping away at that for your retirement, your kids aren't going to be very happy with that. And you look at what the rich do, they never hit their assets. That's why they're able to go generation after generation with wealth. One more thing I wanted to say, well, a couple more things. So when you don't have to use your savings to pay your retirement expenses, you've arrived. In other words, your passive income is paying for the whole thing. And then one last thing that I don't think anybody's going to like is when your most expensive asset is not your residence, you're on your way.
Yep.
If your most expensive asset is going to always be your residence, you probably have a problem.
Yeah. And Al, we're gonna
retirement.
Yeah, we're gonna actually break down numbers on that, and talk about how you can lower stuff. But you're 100% right. Most people do consider their primary the asset. It's a liability because you need a place to live.
My residence is my least expensive asset for properties. And I'm not living in a home.
So, it's funny, Al, because, this is, scroll here right now for me a little bit, but we talk about like the cars, people that love their cars. There's also people out there that would rather live in the 5,000 square foot monstrosity that they can't even afford to heat or pay the taxes every month. But they prefer to have that, whether it's for show or that's just what they want, that's on them. But that house is not going to get them to where they want to be any shorter. Imagine if they took that same strategy on that $1.5 million house, bought a primary and 2 investment properties for the same amount of money, but 2 are making you money and 1 you're just living in.
But just
not everybody thinks like that.
Just one comment about that. Like, you got to decide how you want, what kind of lifestyle you want, though. You don't want to just live, as cheap as possible. Right. It's not going to be any fun, but you've got to balance it. So what I have been heavily influenced by Robert Kiyosaki, and what he says is anything that he got that had anything to do with luxury, whether it was a car or something, he'd always make sure it was paid for passively by something else. And so that would be the reward.
Right.
And I actually have done some of that, not 100%, but some of that in the past, just inherently, because I just feel too guilty about giving myself something, that I have to keep working for, because you're going to always work right up to the expense level. And that's not sustainable. Otherwise, unless you can work the rest of your life. And the goal is not to work the rest of your life, not to work for money, but to have money work for you. So there's nothing wrong with buying yourself something, but that's the whole point of building passive income, so that you could have a choice to do that. And if that passive income is just automatic, then maybe you can shift that. Like, let's say you bought a new car at some point, but then, later on in life, you don't need that nice car. Well, you still have that passive income coming in, so you can shift that passive income to pay for your expenses. But you got to think right away. You got to start entering the passive income into the equation now, and then build it up where percentage-wise, it's shifting from 0 to 100%. It doesn't happen all at once, but it's a shift.
Right. Wealth takes time. And, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, if you haven't read it, read it. It's amazing. It really is. And they talk about the assets and liabilities. And, we think a lot of things are assets, but they're not, they're liabilities. So when you can identify them separately and really hone in on that, it's very eye-opening. And, back to the passive income. And that's why we decided to add this bonus class into our wealth building series, because, it is about that passive income with, do the investing or whatever, if that's the route you choose to go in. But that's why we talk about, profit share a lot. A lot of people, they think, oh, well, profit share just because we want to grow the office. It's not about that. It's about changing people's lives and helping them and building your wealth passively. That's what the profit share is about. That's why we talk about it so much. And it shocks me that like the 80-20 rules everywhere, but like not a lot of people take advantage of this free opportunity that we have at Keller Williams. Doesn't cost any money. There's no liability, no down payment. No one's calling you because the toilet's leaking, right? And so, again, if it's like, well, I can't buy an investment property, I don't have the down payment or whatever it is, guess what? Focus on profit sharing.
Yeah, Kristen, if I could say one thing on that.
Yeah.
Just to, unlike a multifamily that might cost you 10, 20, 25% to put down, profit share costs you zero.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's zero money out of pocket.
Yep.
And it's 100% passive income that comes in. And I forget what the equations are. I can find it and send it out, but it's like, it's the equivalent of like having $1 million in the bank.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. Aaron Kaufman, who through Profit Share, follow the guy on KW Profit Share Mastermind. The guy is very good at what he's good. Our market centers brought the guy in to talk about it. Everybody in here, if you do nothing more, start Profit Share because that is free money. That is absolutely free money that will help you in your now and then.
Yep. And for those of you who don't know, probably you do, and it's public record. So, and we're not trying to say this to be like, hey, look, we're so great, but Bill and I have made over $100,000 in profit share each. He got to it before I did by like a month or so, but that's because he brought Brendan Kate in. But anyways, like that's real money. It's real money, right, Bill?
Absolutely. I bought an investment property with it.
I bought a vacation house with it. That's what it pays for. Now, should I have bought investment? Yes. Okay. But that's another story. So I mean, take advantage of it, honestly. And to Aaron Kaufman, we did have him on. We do have that video in our private YouTube channel. So go back and watch that. It was really good. Yep. Awesome. All right. So Bill.
Yeah.
So, do your magic. You want to
I just want to
scare
talk
us all?
about a couple things. Like let's get some nuts and bolts. We talk about like for retirement. Do you guys have a goal? Like write down. Do you have a goal? If you don't have one, you must get one. Okay. Then you start figuring out how much money do you need on an annual basis when you retire that will come into you without actually working for it. So we're like Al was talking about and Chris was talking about profit share, rental income. We're going to add that in afterward, okay? But how much money do you need coming in through stocks, IRAs, pensions? If you're expecting Social Security to come in, good luck. I don't know if I'll get it. Al might get it. He's a little bit older than me, but I don't think I get it. So figure out how much money you need. Al didn't even smirk on that one. And then, do you want to have an amazing retirement, or do you want to have a starving retirement? Like, think of that. Do you want to have they talk about the golden years, and I swear to God, that's such a terrible saying because how many it's again maybe that 80-20 rule, Krista, where 20% of those people in the golden years are actually living the retirement of their life, and 80% of them are not. So, which side of that spectrum do you prefer to be on? So we start figuring out numbers for what you need, and we're going to talk about passive income and other income streams right after this. But so, has anybody ever heard of the Trinity 4%? If you have, put up your hand. Okay, the Trinity 4% rule. It's a 4% rule. Okay, it's an informal name used to refer to a 1998 paper written by 3 financial professors at Trinity University. Okay, what they came up with is one category to study that determines safe withdrawal rate at 4% from the day you retire. Like how long, saying you're gonna live 30 years. If you withdraw 4% from your retirement portfolios, how much money you'll need. So with that being said, this is going to sting slightly, okay? I love you all. I'm not meant to, and everybody has a different number. Kristen shared her number. If you grabbed a calculator right now on your trusty little handy dandy phone and said that you wanted to live off $100,000 a year, okay, for 30 years, divide that by 0.04, and that means you need to have $2.5 million in your 401k. And you're going to retire for 30 years. I know, Bernice, I'm sorry. So, but here's where this all of a sudden, like, that number's meant to sting. But okay, so let's deflate that. If you don't have, let's just say Al talked about your primary residence where it's a liability. What happens if you didn't have a mortgage? Would you need $100,000? You start figuring out your monthly expense. This is talking about knowing your budget. You start figuring out what your monthly expenses are right now, and you're, oh, it's a $3,000 mortgage, and you know, car payments, and I have all these kids living here. Is that always going to be the case in retirement? Are you going to have less electricity bills? You know, no mortgage payments, maybe no car payment, and you're going to be able to weed that number down. So say you only needed, you know, $50,000 a year to retire. Like, okay, I think I can do that. By 0.04, all of a sudden you're like 1.25 million. You're like, that's still a big number. Okay, so this is when we start talking about passive income. Okay, 2.5 million. Kristen's 6.5 million is insane. She needs to start selling shoes, but that's what she wants. Everybody, this is talking about knowing your budget and starting somewhere. If you then take that 1.25 and you look at your 401ks and your SEPs, is everybody in here comfortable that they're going to hit that by the time they're 65, 67? I'm not.
Yep.
You know, it's anybody currently in line to hit their exact retirement numbers. I mean, if there's people that are a couple of years away from retirement, maybe they're closer than the people in their 30s, 40s, and early 50s. But is anybody on here on pace, on track?
Bill, sorry, just a quick question. So you were talking about the amount of money times, you know, 30 years and then divided by 4%. Was that the equation?
Correct. Yeah. Take the amount of money that you believe you need to live on a yearly basis, divide it by 0.04, and that's going to tell you how much you need in retirement portfolio. Again, it does not include cash assets, passive income, rental properties, side hustles, which we're going to talk about a bunch of those things right afterward. So let's just say you needed 50,000, okay, 50 at 1.25. So if you need $50,000 a year and you don't quite have your 1.25 million, what are other ways that can get you closer to earning that $50,000 a year if you're in retirement?
Bill, did you say it didn't include properties, rental properties?
Yeah, and that's so where Steve was going was, you know, if Steve owns, say, three properties, and Steve makes $10,000 a month on those properties, if he needs $50,000 a month to live on, that $10,000 passive income now is going to drop that to $40,000 that he would have to actually withdraw from his retirement, because he's making $10,000. I'm sorry, $10,000 a year. Say it was from the rental properties, and anybody with rental properties knows that if you were getting $2,000 a month for one place and you had no mortgage, it's $24,000 a year. Okay, so if you just took that 50,000.
Did you do front and back?
Hey,
sorry.
Don't.
Not on mute. Sorry.
There's always one, guys. You know, it's always a Irish girl named Sullivan. So if you started with that 50, and then Steve, you had passive income at 24, well, guess what? Now you only need to withdraw 26,000. So if you take those same numbers and back it up, all of a sudden it starts sounding more feasible. So where we're heading here is passive income in real estate properties and additional income avenues.
Okay.
What about life
so,
insurance? What about life insurance? I have this life insurance where I take a lot of the money I make and I stick it in there, and it's tied into the stock market.
So I'll be the first to say I know absolutely nothing about that. If there's anybody on here, you know, feel free to chime in on that.
I don't know anything either. But Mark, I will say that when I took that financial piece class by Dave Ramsey, they did have a section about life insurance and the different types and which one's better than the other and all of that. anyone that I've talked to has different opinions about the life insurance. So, you know, I certainly can't give you any advice on that, unfortunately.
Well, at some point you have to be dead for some of the life insurance that you get. Your family gets that. Your family gets that portion of it, but there is a part that you can invest in.
Correct.
Make some
What
money.
I have is after a certain, like when I retire, I can start living off that money. It accumulates value. I really can't touch it for 10 years.
Yeah, that's a life annuity. So you put so much in there every month. You have a death benefit should you pass away, but then it's earning based on the market, and it is pretty aggressive. There's other ones that is a true life insurance policy, but you could borrow against it at any time that you want to. Any interest you pay back to yourself. The one I have for myself, that particular one, is a double death benefit. So I can borrow money against it. My family would get paid a death benefit when I pass away. Then it goes over to my husband. He can borrow against it. It's a double death benefit that he would, once he dies, the kids get it. So some of them, you literally can set it up that there's a lot of different ways to get paid out. So it's worth looking into. And it's something that, you know, as far as FAFSA, you don't have to claim that as income, because it's a good way to hide some money, especially for your kids. If you set it up that way, when they were younger, they don't have to declare that as their income for college loans and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a good hidden little thing, but there's a lot of different ways to use it. And the right financial planner can set it up in a lot of different ways.
Bernice, you had your hand up. Did you have something that you wanted to?
Sorry, that was an
Steve,
accident. Somebody's thing is not muted. That was an accident, Kristen.
Oh, okay.
I had my hand up by mistake.
No, it's okay.
You just high-fiving me? So again, you got to start figuring out how much you believe you will need on a yearly withdrawal from your pension 401k, and then you can start getting into how you can lower that. We talked about how you can lower that through passive income, lowering your bills, paying off your primary mortgage. You know, if you're 45 or 50 and you have a 30-year note, you know, what can you do to get that into a 15 or a 20-year note to get that thing paid down a little bit faster? Kristen, you want to add anything with that, or?
No, I agree.
Now I have my hand up.
There we go.
I have a question. So I feel like a piece of this process is finding a good financial planner, because I'm not a numbers person when it comes to, you know, all of this. And I don't know if you guys have any suggestions on how you can find a good financial planner. I know they have ones that are, you know, fee-based, or ones that get paid based on, you know, how they invest your money, and what's a good resource to find, find a good financial planner, and then what to look for when you're looking for a financial planner.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's always been my biggest issue, because, you know, everybody has their own opinions. You know, some people talk a great game and then they don't really give you good advice. I know that Bob Malone said he knows somebody that that he, you know, speaks highly of. But you know, I think it's kind of comes down to like what you need and what your gut's telling you about that. You know, and again, I think you have different opinions on things. You know, I've talked to some people and they're like, oh, well, it costs $5,000 a year to have me there to help you with this. And I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to get? Am I going to get 15 back? Or
exactly.
What, you know, and that's why, you know, for me, I'm like, you know, focusing on the passive income as far as like, you know, investment properties, profit share, etc. Just because I don't know, you know, that whole
Kristen,
avenue.
Can I say something?
Yes,
I know that
please.
Kate and I too, especially because a good accountant is always very important. And what we found, especially the last couple of years, is a lot of like, say, accountants and financial advisors, find ones that understand real estate too. Because as real estate agents, a lot of us invest in real estate. And we've just found that a lot of them don't know the ins and outs. I know that I think Kate could comment, was one of Rich Dad's, there's a book out there with one of Rich Dad's advisors who's an accountant who's really good, that gets that sort of stuff, because a lot of us may, you know, not only do the 401k and the IRAs and all this, but obviously real estate is extremely important, like Steve had mentioned. But I do think that it's hard to find those ones that understand it at a high level.
Yep.
Yeah, the Rich Dad Poor Dad financial tax guy is Tom Wheelwright. He's a CPA. He has a podcast too. Some of it gets a little deep, to be honest. That's not one of the ones I listen to quite as frequently. But he does know his stuff. And if you're looking for a real estate type of accountant, he has a network of people that I think he refers across the country. If you're interested in that type of accounting.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, and like anything, Bernice, like Ben just said, it's funny. My former financial advisor did not like real estate. He talked me out of buying some properties that have tripled in value. So really happy about that. But you go with somebody, go with somebody that understands what your investment, what you're looking to do. Interview them. Just like if you're going out and doing a market analysis and the seller is interviewing you, you need to have your plan, your ideas, your thoughts, and go interview. And if they're not aligned with you, just move on to the next one and find somebody who is that understands the direction that you want to go in.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes what they do is they'll have like a yearly cost, like I said, like $5,000 a year. Other times they make money off of whatever stock they put you in. They get a percentage off of everything. So there's a lot of different options there.
Absolutely. Chris, you want to keep talking numbers? I know we got about 10 minutes left here. It's funny. I want to go back to, those numbers may sound, really daunting when you say, hey, I need 1.25 million in my portfolio. There's other ways to bring that down. We keep talking about passive income. What are some passive income ideas out there other than profit share and potential like investment properties? Anybody?
What'd you say, other than properties, Bill?
Yeah, other than real estate properties and profit share. I mean, profit share is the easiest one. I hate to keep pumping it up, but I honestly don't. I mean, I love profit share. I know a few people on here have done really well with it. And but yeah, Steve, do you know of any other passive income opportunities, side hustles, anything that people can do?
Other than bagging groceries at Stop and Shop, no.
I've got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
You could look into buying mortgages. Now, I haven't done it, but you buy it at a discount, and then they send you the money, and you get a return, and it's secured by the property.
Perfect.
Well, you can be a hard money lender, but that's a different animal to work with.
Yeah. Okay.
How that works.
This one's at least backed by the property.
I mean, there are
you could teach. You could get into KWRI and teach classes all around the country with Keller Williams as a side gig.
Yeah, coaching, consulting. I mean, there's other ways.
You could coach.
There's other ways to make money.
That's still a job, though.
Yeah, there is.
It's fun.
I mean, you could invest. You could invest in a startup app. You could invest in a startup business, or like you said, you could do hard money lending. You can make money that way.
You can invest in the stock market, and you can do stocks that pay dividends. You just have to know what you can do, and you don't have to have $1 million to invest in the stock market. You can buy one share of something, one share of Tesla, one share of whatever. You got to know what you're doing, but brokerage accounts are free. There's no cost to trading. You can just put, $100 a month into an S&P 500 fund that, is just a mutual fund that mirrors the S&P 500. So you can do small things like that if you don't have, the $30,000, $60,000 just lying around to invest. And that interest that you accrue through those companies' growth, that's passive income. You just it's just like anything else. You want to know why you're investing in these companies and for what reason, but you can buy small amount of shares, 1 share, 10 shares, 5 shares.
To that point, what Kate just said, she said a little earlier, was to invest the same amount of money monthly. And if you do that in a mutual fund, that's, a pretty safe one, you can't miss. Even if it goes down, because you're going to purchase at the lower rate. And if you believe in the US economy, that eventually it'll just come back, you're going to win. But if you play Vegas, you could lose big time. So
Yeah.
the safest way would be investing the same amount of money in a mutual fund, and you'll see gains. Over the years, it will add up. Some years you'll do really good. Some years you, even on down years, you could still do good, because if it's going down, you buy at the cheaper number, and then it comes back up. If you look up dollar cost averaging, it's amazing how that works.
Yeah, and you can set up a free, like Kate said, a free Fidelity account. Just go in there. It's easy, and you can get people on the phone very quickly compared to a lot of times getting people on the phone these days. But and they'll help you and walk you through it too. And like Kate said, start small, get a couple shares of something. You're part owner of that, and then you can just watch it grow. And once you see that, it's exciting, and you just want to continue that. So I did upload in the chat a couple forms that you guys can look at, like a net sheet, budget, a compound interest thing that's fun to do, not really. And that's all from When Make Give. It's the podcast, or if you can go on whenmakegive.com, Ben Kinney's podcast. It's phenomenal. I definitely suggest, looking into that. And then Mark Roberts put on some information for a loan officer here, a financial advisor. So if you want to copy that information down, he posted that there. Tasia asked about tax liens. Does anybody know about buying tax liens?
I could give you, I did bid on a couple in the past. It's usually when the towns are selling tax liens, you can buy the tax lien on the property, then you can foreclose on the property, but there's other variables you better look at, such as, is there any mortgage due? And it takes some time to foreclose on the property. So if you buy tax liens for 10 years worth of tax liens for X amount of dollars, and it takes you another year to foreclose on it, there's another 12 months that the town's gonna have to get paid somehow when you end up trying to buy it. But it is lucrative, and the people that are involved are very business savvy that buy these tax liens. And you can make some serious money, but you better be on your toes when you go about it, because you don't want to end up buying something that's junk. Some of these people just don't pay tax liens on property that are maybe undevelopable or had an environmental problem with it. So you got to do some background checks before you end up trying to buy the property.
Thank you, Steve. That's good information.
The other thing that I've seen people do in retirement, that, let's say you're a golfer. I've known a couple of fellows that retired, and then they just golf or work for the country club that they are part of just for a part-time gig, because they get paid for something they enjoy doing.
Right.
Something along those lines too. So
I've heard that investing in art can be lucrative, but you just got to learn what you're doing.
Yeah, it's funny. I always made fun of people who collected sports cards growing up. And I don't know if you guys have followed the market, but the market for sports memorabilia and baseball cards right now is absolutely ridiculous. I know people selling baseball cards for $7,500 right now online that they may have bought for $50 or $60 a couple of years ago. I don't know much about it, but one of those things that you might be too late to it.
So I was one of those kids that had a baseball card collection, and my mother threw it out.
Of course. Of course you did.
But the thing was, I used to flip the cards too, so I kind of ruined the corners. So I don't know how much they would have been worth, but I had a lot from the 60s.
Oh wow.
You don't even want to know, Al.
the 60s, Al? Oh
yeah.
It's going back.
I used to be a good card flipper.
Be nice, Zeb. Be nice.
Yeah, Al should be talking about retirement here.
I have been.
Chris, I got a couple of podcasts that I started listening to. I think one is that what Kate mentioned here. A couple, I just started listening to them, but Big Picture Retirement. Retirement Starts Today. Retirement Answer Man. That seems to be a very, very popular one out there. and then stay wealthy. And it's never too early to start anything, even if it's, you know, skipping going for lunch today and just eating something you have in your kitchen. You're saving $15 right there. It's your future starts with your savings today, and then it's your investing, what you do with that money.
Just another quick thought to end is when you go to invest in a stock or mutual funds, you have to put up that $10,000 to $20,000 to put it in there for it to make money. And when you invest in real estate, you can put 20% down on the property and still have it making you that 20% will make you an income, plus the equity goes up in the property. On historically, it might come down a little bit, but it goes up. So the amount of money you can make by investing in real estate could be more than the investment you make, and usually is in what you make in the stock market.
And Steve, and somebody else is paying down your principal on that. So you're getting the equity, you're getting the principal buy down, and the bank's taking most of the liability there at 75% of the note or 80%. You're only investing, you know, a $200,000 house, you're only investing $40,000 into, and the bank's taking the rest. So your liability is certainly limited, and you get the benefit of so many great things. We talked on the MREI book club with, I recently bought a property in Marshfield, and I was freaked out about buying it. It was right during the beginning of the pandemic when nobody knew, but the equity in the property has already gone up by 20% since April. I mean, that's
take your money back out.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. So I talked about refining it, pulling my money back out and going to get the next one. So.
And there's a lot of that coming up because for some time, if you're talking about foreclosures, they had a furlough to foreclosures. The banks were told you can't foreclose on people, and that's starting to fade. You'll see more and more of that coming up. It's misfortunate, but there's an opportunity there.
Yep. Awesome. Well, it's 12:01. Thank you guys so much for being on here. We really appreciate it. Did you guys see value in this? Was this helpful? Did you enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Bill,
I got to
thanks.
find somebody else to buy me lunch. That's what I figured out.
Not it.
Yeah. Eddie's got short arms.
Right. Yeah. Bill, thanks so much. I appreciate your time today and sharing everything and, all your expertise on the subject. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great, guys. Well, we'll see you. Hold on one second. Next week, the 19th. No, not the 19th. The 26th is our next wealth building MREI series. So the 26th at 11 o'clock. Next week is the Dave Jenks class about win listings. So you may want to jump on that because he's awesome. So read the pages. I'll send out the information that you guys need. And I hope you have an awesome week.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
It was good to see me.
Yeah, it was.
Always good to see you, Seth.
Right?
Ciao.
Bye.